Hello, members of the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors, and welcome to the Park Bench. I am your host, Scott Bush. My guests today are Carly Melee with Century 21 and Bill Meisel with American Pacific Mortgage. And we're here to talk about VA loan product. Now, don't run away, because that's why we're here, because VA loan product has a stigma to it. And we're here to dispel a lot of the myths and a lot of the confusion and a lot of the problems, perceived problems about VA loans. And the reason Carly is here, Carly does works with VA loan product, knows a lot about it, and I was very impressed with Carly because she was most recently on a strategic planning committee session for the Realtors Association, and I was surprised that VA loan, the topic came up a few times, and that's when Carly spoke out. I would call her an advocate for VA loans, and I said, this is perfect. You'd be a perfect spokesperson for members of the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors. So, and in anticipation for this show, Carly, I know you sent me, and thank you for doing this, by the way. Carly had actually did her own sort of homework and sent out a sample questionnaire to members of the association asking them, what do you think about the VA loan products and what do you do? How do you handle objections? And it was kind of all over the board. So, but again, very valuable information, and certainly VA loans does not mean a weaker buyer. You know, I'll just start right off to dispel that. And maybe there are some nitpicky components to it, right? But that's certainly subjective as well. So, Carly, I want to turn it over to you a little bit. I want to, you know, maybe you could summarize your thoughts.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to start with is I want people to know that veterans are very qualified borrowers. They typically have high credit profiles, strong income and assets, and they're very financially secure. The zero down, no PMI, low interest or lower interest rate typically is a thank you for their service. It's a reward for everything they've done for us. It doesn't make them any less qualified. We did a survey and found, we did a survey and found that the biggest issue realtors come across with VA loans is the appraisal process. So there's somewhat some inconsistency amongst appraisers, and we unfortunately cannot control that. So there is a way oftentimes around it that a lot of lenders and agents just don't know about. We can, when there are certain things flagged, now if it is a safety concern, it might be a requirement. However, there are things that sometimes are flagged more cosmetic and not safety concerns that we are easily able to get a waiver for. You just have to know how to do it. Not all lenders are going to know how to do it, so you might have to teach them, or you might have to ditch them for a lender who does know how to do it.
So let me ask you about lenders real quick, because some of the criticisms I hear are the difference between local lenders and out-of-state lenders.
Yep.
You know, I'm not an expert at this, but is that something, Bill or Carly, that you hear about?
I work with both. I work with lenders who are not local, and then I obviously prefer to work with lenders who are local, but sometimes people already come with their lender in place, and that's okay, and we bring it all together. But it is a lot easier to navigate the process typically with a local lender, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not advocating that we don't work with,
Right.
with non-local lenders. I'm just saying these are some of the things that I pick up that I hear with respect to the VA loan product.
Yep.
Correct. And there's also another issue that you can run across is some VA lenders are delegated and others are non-delegated. The delegated ones are able to get around things a lot easier. The non-delegated have to go more through a process in order to, is that how you would explain it kind of?
Yep.
So it is important to know what your lender is capable of doing, because it could very well make or break a transaction.
Okay.
So a lot of things that we come across with the appraisal process, as far as things getting flagged, chipped and peeling paint, sometimes minor like roof repairs, missing handrails, those are all things that often come up with the VA loan process. And then other things, sometimes we'll come across stuff that we've never even heard of being flagged, and we're like, wait a minute, And a lot of those things you're able to get a waiver for. You just have to have the borrower reach out to their lender to request a waiver, and then the lender submits a stow ticket to the appraisal desk, and then the appraisal desk will submit that to the VA and give the VA the option to look it over. They will then decide if this is something that is a safety concern and must absolutely be addressed, or if they can provide a waiver. Oftentimes, a waiver is able to be provided. When the VA approves it, then they send it back to the lender, and the lender has the authority to say, okay, we'll accept the waiver or we will not. If the lender, for some reason, is saying they cannot, you need a new lender. Just kidding, sorry. What do you think, Bill?
Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you, looking at my research, it looks like a lot of agents who are leery of working with a VA loan product, if they know you're on the other side of the transaction, they're completely at ease. So you must really know your stuff when it comes to VA loan.
Yeah, I would say I close an average of at least 10 VA deals a year, so I am getting very familiarized with the process and comfortable. I've come across agents on the other side who have never worked with a VA loan, and all they've heard is bad things. So I actually really enjoy that opportunity to educate the other agent. And I have a team that I've actually done multiple VA transactions with now, and they say that I have enlightened them and really educated them on the process so that they are not any longer scared of VA loans, which is our goal here, to educate people that these are very strong loan products and deserving borrowers.
Right. One of the things that I've heard too is that agents always bring up the termite inspection.
Yeah.
Does that really,
So-
how could that be such a big deal?
So here's something we did, and it was kind of neat that we called up the VA, Carly and I did, and we found some interesting things. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, so
what we did?
on the WDO or termite inspection report, there is a box for a seller signature and a buyer's signature. So just seeing that, one would just think, okay, it requires both parties' signatures. Another issue with VA loans that people have said is the extra paperwork involved. We did contact the VA directly and found that the seller's signature is not a requirement on the termite inspection. Sorry, there's a fly.
Well, we are
We're
in
in
the
the
park.
park.
We're in the park.
That's Fred the fly. That's right.
So that is something I actually found out recently. I would say in the last 6 months, I heard from a listing agent who does a handful of VA stuff a year too, and I was kind of like, oh really? Like I never knew that. I always just automatically had the seller side sign, and nobody has ever objected and he didn't object, but he just, nicely said like, oh hey, it's not a requirement. And I was like, wow. And ever since, I have not been having the seller side sign, but then I just came across it again recently where I submitted it to the lender and they're like, oh, you need the seller signature. And I'm like, oh, we're going to find out for sure. And that's what we did. And it is not a requirement.
Yep.
So buyer's agents, you don't need to send that over to the seller side for the seller to sign off on. So that is one less document or one less piece of paper that needs to be signed by both parties. So that's a plus as well, because extra paperwork has been one of the
Criticisms, yeah.
regarding the loan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
And also, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but the requirement on it, especially in our area, I don't know if there's a way to look into the necessariness behind it, if that's a word.
Necessity?
Yes. I mean, I've one time in 5 years had one come back, and it was a dead carpenter ant.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just in other areas like La Crosse County, it's not a requirement,
Right.
where wood destroying organisms
Right.
would be way more prevalent, and then
Right.
in Milwaukee County it is a requirement,
Right.
and I've never, besides a dead carpenter ant, come across it. So that's
Right.
kind of
And
interesting.
that's what some agents have said, well, we don't really even have those issues in this area
Right.
and that area, for which I thought, well, these are indigenous creatures, they could be anywhere.
Yeah. But it is here for now, a requirement for the VA loan. There are some inspectors, if your borrower is having that third-party home inspection, which is great. There are inspectors who will include that at no charge with the regular home inspection. So
Okay.
otherwise, it is typically like $250 more
Okay.
for the borrower.
But for the most part, it's not an insurmountable big deal.
Correct.
Yeah,
There's not
that
typically
it's-
ever
it's made out
any
to be.
issues with the findings, and if you find an inspector who will include it, it's not an additional charge. So
Right. And anything else that either you would like to add today to maybe take some of the fear away from VA loans with our members?
So we do what's called the minimal property requirements waiver. That's how it's worked through the actual VA. It is lenders have to sign up and make sure that they're able to do these, but it's very easy to, and it's done once you get the appraisal back. It's all the information sent directly to the VA, so the appraiser is out of it totally, and the VA will go in and then redo the appraisal and then grant the actual waiver, and that's how they're done.
and you said the process is typically
36 hours is what I'm
Okay.
wait time on them.
And Bill, you know a little bit about this. We've been working with Congresswoman Gwen Moore
Yep.
on a bill.
Yep.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So we are working with right now to add to the mortgage credit certificate, which is a HUD program. Currently, the mortgage credit certificate does allow veterans to take up to $2,000 per year. It's a federal tax credit. So it's veterans and active duty military. What the Greater Milwaukee Realtors Association has advocated for with Congressperson Moore is that we are going to be including Gold Star spouses. So we will be, when that gets passed, we have strong support. We'll be adding the Gold Star spouses to the mortgage credit certificate.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
yep.
And we'll get more out about that to the members of the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors, so they can learn more about how to service those Gold Star families
Yep.
and so forth. Carly, any parting shots you want to make, or
I
any
guess I
final
would
thoughts?
just add with the MPR waiver, the minimal property requirement waiver, that sometimes along with that we can see low appraisals come in, or also known as tidewater. Just like you mentioned, we don't have to go back to the appraiser for these things.
No.
The VA directly can go through things and decide what they want to do as far as reconsider value, send the comps directly to the VA, not to the appraiser as well. I guess the main point or key takeaway I would like to give is that the VA is our partner, not the problem. We just need more people to understand the loan product and be willing to work with veterans.
Well said, well said. And maybe I'll have a final thought on this too, that both of you can elaborate on. I think education is important too. So when you take a listing, you talk about the various type of offers that might come in with what sort of financing contingencies there are, so that you talk with your seller up front about VA loans, whatever conventional, whatever it is, and become try not to have such a negative outlook about VA loans. That's our job here today. We want to try to dispel a lot of that stigma.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming today to the park.
Thank you.
It's been a beautiful day.
Yeah, it is. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.